Welcome to Worthy Ones, the video series where I take all the newest issue 1 comic books that I read for the current comic book week and deem them worthy or not worthy. Guys, I'm Mike Spider Slayer. Welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0. If you love daily comic book content, you like me helping you make decisions on what comic books to buy, and you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, guys, go ahead and do so now. And if you want to check out the rest of the comic books that I read for the current book week, check out after the poll, as I will cover everything and rank my favorite comic book of the week. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started with this week's episode. So the first book we're talking about today is Return to Planet Hulk. This is issue 1. It's a 32-page comic for the price of $5, written by Greg Pak, and the art is done by Carlo, can't say it. Anyway, when it comes to the artwork in this book, it's actually pretty good. There's lots of action here. There's lots of rage from Hulk. And this goes back to the days of the original Planet Hulk storyline, which I actually had no idea. I thought he was going back to Sakaar and doing another mission for some reason, you know, based off of the events also of what's going on in Imperial War. I know Jennifer Walters was there, so I was a little confused of what was going on. And then I read this and I'm like, oh, this is just kind of like one night that is going on in Hulk's life while he was on the planet, right? And he's trying to decide what he is while he's there. And there was a lot of action and whatnot, and it was an okay story. But again, I didn't pay attention to it being a one-shot. And if I knew that it was a one-shot, I probably would not have bought it. So for me, it is not worthy. It's not a bad story, right? And it does give you a little bit more meat to the overall Planet Hulk storyline, but it's not necessary. That book was made years ago at this point, and this is just kind of like, all right, well, let's insert that into the story now, right? So if you have the extra money and you want to buy it, it's fine, but it wasn't anything that was groundbreaking or you need to read in a very heavy comic book week. So the story was fine. It was average for me. It was a pretty quick read. I gave this one a C+. Did you guys pick this one up? Let me know in the comments below. Deluge, issue 1 is the next book we're talking about, released from Ignition Press. They seem to be releasing a title at least once a week right now, and most of the stuff that I've read from them have been pretty solid. This is a 32-page comic for $5, and this one is written by horror writer Colin Bunn, and Maraka Cresta is the actual artist in this book. It's not, I would say, probably the best artwork, but all it really is for the most part is just a bunch of women in a correctional institute in jail. And so I don't think you have to do very much, but they portray facial expressions really well. You get to capture their emotions, sadness, fear, and you get to feel the terror that some of these inmates are going through, right? Now, what this comic is about is a book about ladies that are obviously in jail, and there is this rain that happens, and it's this unrelenting rain. It like does not stop. And they wind up bringing in this nurse off the street that's going to help these ladies, obviously, if they get injured or whatnot. And then as rain comes down, right, the next thing you wind up finding out is that the jail starts to flood and there's horrors that start to creep in this prison. So it was actually really cool. You got to learn a little bit about the prisoners that are in here. And again, you get to see the horror that's inside. So for me, this book was worthy. This was my sleeper pick. This was way down on the list, and I feel like this warrants some consideration in reading, guys. I think it does a nice job at setting up the characters, the plot in place, and the horror that's still to come that's involved. So again, Colin Bunn's been writing horror stories for a very long time. I definitely recommend this. I gave this one a solid B. So let me know what you guys thought of it in the comments below. Marvel Knights Punisher issue 1. I've never read the Marvel Knights line just in general, so I'm not sure if I can really give an accurate review for this because I felt a little lost when I started reading this. It's a 32-page comic for the price of $5. This one is written by Jimmy Palmiotti, and the art is done by Dan Panazzonian. Now, when it comes to the artwork, it's actually really good. I love the way Punisher looks. He's like this no-holds-bar, kicks ass, takes names character, and I think when you guys read comics and you read Punisher comics, I think this is kind of the Punisher that you're looking for, right? He's just, again, hard-nosed character, doesn't take shit from anybody. He'll shoot anybody at will. And this is a very gory and graphic comic book. Big guns blazing, no red band attached to it. And it's just a lot of fun. There's a lot of like drug lord cartel stuff going on and just awesome. I mean, it was just really a great comic book, and you wind up getting to see like this zombie capture Frank, and they're trying to interrogate him by giving him this serum and whatnot, and you have to find out to see if he goes under their will and gives them all the information that they're looking for, or does Frank become something more? So for me, this book actually was worthy. I felt, though, that I was a little bit lost, though. I was missing something. But nevertheless, it was just an enjoyable story to see everything that was going on, right? And yeah, it was fun. I wish I read more of Marvel Knights. If there's something that I can read to make me understand this more, let me know in the comment section below. But nevertheless, again, it was a fun story. I gave this one a B+. Very entertaining, gory, graphic, and a lot of explosives. The Amazing Spider-Man Torn, Issue 1. 32 pages, $5, obviously published by Marvel here. This one is written by J. Michael Straczynski, and the art is done by Pierre Perez. The artwork in this comic is great. I love the colors in here. It's very bright and vibrant, right? And I love Peter's thinking. I love the way how he is back in Empire State University and he feels like class is super boring. And I love how Straczynski used Spider-Man or Peter's smarts and scientific mind in this issue to defeat Sandman in the beginning of the comic book, right? You don't get to see that so often anymore. But what this story overall is that this is a story that takes place again in the earlier years of Peter Parker's life, where he still had Gwen Stacy, he still had Mary Jane, he still had Harry Osborn and the rest of the gang. And when you're reading this, you're kind of just like, man, you know, this takes place before all this stuff, and I kind of know what's going to happen with all these characters in the future and the paths that they take and the trials and tribulations that they go through. And you just get to see, again, this early adventure of Spider-Man taking on Sandman, and then there's this girl or woman that's after this mysterious book, and she's getting paid a lot of money to get this book, but then something happens tragic to her, and this sets Spider-Man up for his next adventure. So this comic book was very much worthy. Again, what I liked about this comic the most wasn't necessarily the new villain that was introduced, but it was the cast of characters that were in here that brings you back to a simpler time of the character before they became freaking goblins and symbiotes, because I don't think there's a single Spider-Man character anymore that doesn't even have a superpower, right? So, yeah. I mean, I liked it. Definitely check it out. I gave this one a B+ as well. Looking forward to the next issue. So I did pick up 3 of the Age of Revelation comics this week, and the first one we're talking about is Laura Kinney, Sabertooth. This is issue 1. It's a 32-page comic for the price of $4. Was it worth it? We'll talk about it. It's written by Erica Schultz, and the art is done by Valentina Pinti. The artwork in the comic book was okay. I thought it was a little bit darker, a little heavy on the inks. There is some action. Otherwise, there's a lot of talking heads in this comic book, right? And this is kind of something that I'm not going to lie, I wasn't expecting. I thought we would get a different outcome on why Laura is Sabertooth in the issue. And it kind of has to deal with her entire family. And in this book, we wind up getting to see some pointless and random fights between Laura and I think it's Gabby in the issue. And after all this fight, she wants Gabby to take her kid, right? And it's just like, protect the kid, get it out of the territories and whatnot. And it was kind of very repetitive. Oh, mommy, don't take me. Oh, mommy, please. I don't want to go. Yes, you have to go. You have to go. And then it's just, again, they just randomly fight. It's just a big talking heads issue. And this is just something I completely did not expect. I was expecting a much darker plot, or something happens more to the point where it's just, well, hey, I just want to hand my kid over and then, make sure my kid's okay type of situation. So it's more of like a family thing than anything. It was just a book that was not worthy for me. I was just very bored, very disappointed. I was expecting something at least more entertaining, more darker on why she became Sabertooth to begin with. You get a little bit here of the Wolverine character, but it was pointless, nonsense fighting. And this is the type of tie-in where you're just like, yeah, now you know why I don't read tie-ins or spin-off books, because this one is just god-awful. And so unfortunately, this one misses the mark for me, and it gets an F. I will not be continuing issue 2 with this one. Our next Age of Revelation comic that I decided to give a try was Long Shots. This is issue 1. 32-page comic for the price of $5. It's written by Jonathan Hickman and Jerry Duggan, and the art is done by Alan Robinson. I think the artwork is totally fine in this comic book. I think all the characters look really good. You got the X-Babies in here. You got a bunch of different characters like Patsy Walker. You wind up getting Bishop in the book. Kraven the Hunter, which is kind of funny to see him in the future. Rhino, all these different characters. And what this story is about, it's about Mojo trying to save his ratings. So listen, if you've read Mojo comics or X-Men comics in the past, you know what Mojo is. So if you like this, you might tend to gravitate towards this book some more. So what Mojo does is he gets Patsy Walker to join his little TV show after getting with his lawyers and his attorneys, and she goes and searches out these different characters to join the club for the TV show, right? And it was kind of funny to see where all these characters are 10 years from now. You get to see a shaved head or bald head from Kraven the Hunter, and he has the horn of the rhino, and he's like snorting it. It was just like hilarious, right? And just seeing where Wonder Man is and all this other stuff. And so basically it's pretty much a set up issue, and they come together as a live TV series to destroy this power plant that's on Earth. That's basically what this comic book is. So after reading the first issue, I thought that this one was worthy. It wasn't the greatest. In fact, I was like, where are we going with this story? It wasn't until the very end where you're just like, okay, here is the true plot and why these characters are all together. So does it set up enough here to make you go, do I really want to read issue 2? So this is something that is really much on the fence, but it is like a reality show. So me, I'm a sucker for that stuff. So I might continue it. And at the end of the day, I'm going to give this one a C+. I thought this was way better than Laura Kenny's Sabertooth. And we've seen this type of story before from Mojo, and also we're not done getting characters in this comic. So I don't know. We'll see what type of comic book week it is, if I get the second issue or not. Amazing X-Men issue 1. So I feel if you're going to follow this event and you don't want to buy any of the other like tie-in books, check out Amazing X-Men, because this is the one that's written by Jed MacKay. Jed MacKay is in charge of this entire event, so I feel like you need to read this book. So 32 pages for $5 in this one. Like I said, written by Jed MacKay. Art is done by Muhammad Azar, and the artwork is fine. Again, it doesn't like blow me away, but it is pretty decent, right? And there is some decent action scenes. I like seeing the characters 10 years into the future. It's okay. And I do like to see the adventure that's in hand, right? So we wind up getting to see our cast of characters in this issue trying to get to Pennsylvania to get to this teleport. I think they're trying to get to Pennsylvania, but they have to reach this teleportation device in order to do so, and they come across different obstacles along the way. And one of those obstacles is Wolverine, right? And Wolverine is with this version of Apocalypse, who is Doug, and they confront they confront him, and let's just say bad things happen in this book. And one of my greatest things that I could have asked for in this comic book was a particular death of a character. I was like, yes, that's awesome, because I don't want this character in my Uncanny X-Men comic books anymore, right? So that was kind of cool. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't a bad book. It was fine for what it was. So I'm going to say that it is worthy, right? Again, they got to get to a particular place. I don't want to give away too much in there, but then they run to the next obstacle at the end because they're transported to the wrong area. Listen, it's fine for what it is, but it just feels very, I would say, just above a C average. So I'm going to give this one a C plus. It's just very mediocre. It's what we've been getting from Marvel events as of late. It doesn't really feel like anything is at stake or characters' backs are against the wall in here. When I talk about DCKO, you'll see what I'm talking about, but it's just kind of an event that's there, and it'll be curious to see like what happens after all this is done. But out of all the Age of Revelation books this week, I would say that this was the strongest one, and it was an entertaining read. And I feel like if Jed MacKay gets something right, it's Cyclops here. I do like how Cyclops is written. He's a solid leader here, a general, and we'll see what happens with the next issue. All right, here we go. This is the book you guys have been waiting for. I'm letting you know there's no major spoilers here. I'm not going to spoil what happens, but we're going to get into it. All right, this is DCKO. This is issue 1, 48 pages, $6. This book is written by Joshua Williamson, story Scott Snyder, art done by Sermonico. Curious to hear in the comments below what blind bags you guys got, what covers you got. My best one was the Mark Spears 1 in 100 cover. I wound up getting that one. But before we get into this, I got a little bit of a beef here. I like unpredictable things happening, but you know what? I filled out my bracket based off of the people that were entered in the bracket. And I can say that, us participants here got a little bit screwed over. Are we going to be able to redo our brackets? Because based off of what happens, I'm not going to lie, guys, that's going to change my thought process here. And I feel like I'm getting shafted. Let me know in the comments below. Do you guys agree with me here when it comes to this whole bracket situation, right? Or do tables turn once again in this book? And if you've read it, you know what I'm talking about, because things got flipped 180 here, especially when it comes to that bracket. Right from the start, it hasn't even started and things got crazy. But this is definitely a book that feels like there's stakes. We've been getting this built up for months, right? Ever since I think Joshua Williamson started writing, I should say, Superman. The opening pages of the book is what we've been getting, right, in previews for weeks now. Superman going into a gate. He's got these powered knuckles, which is powered by the sun, which is super cool. And then you get Darkseid taking over all of Earth, right? But what you find out as you continue to read is that we kind of get left off from the last issue of last week's prelude issue, right, leading up to this event. And we get to find out that I think it's 7 days in the future that Darkseid's going to make his way, and he's going to take over Earth. And there's this this heart of apocalypse or whatever it is growing inside of Earth, and it's also going to become the new apocalypse, and so everyone's going to get destroyed, and we got to figure out what is happening. What are we going to do to survive this? There is no other scenario. So after explaining and explaining and explaining and giving you the theories of what Omega and Alpha is and all these different things, we finally come up to this conclusion of them going into this tournament, right? Because it's the only way that someone can take on Darkseid and win, right? So after a lengthy conversation, talking heads type of storytelling, you finally get the setup and everything that's going to happen, the lead up into that. And then in your second half of the issue, you do wind up getting 100 heroes trying to make their way to the center of the Earth, and you wind up getting to see them try to get to this gate, right? And only 32 of them are going to make it through the gate to participate into this comic event. And it was just really cool just to see all the heroes with all their different tech and all their different gear. And just as the ball drops and they're making their way towards this gate, all shit like hits the fan at the end, and you're like, what? My freaking bracket is messed up, right? But that's not it. If you obviously been reading Absolute Universe, there's stuff that happens tied into that as well. And you're just like, wow, that really makes it interesting. And we also think that maybe there might be a traitor amongst the group, and that person claims that the tournament is over before it even starts. Wow, what a great book. This book is absolutely freaking worthy to the highest fucking degree. Excuse the language there. But this was great. Like, listen, I get there was a lot of explanation, a lot of talking heads, but I felt like it was necessary to explain everything that was going on, and now we're going to get the action at hand. And listen, the unpredictability part of the comic, I like it. I like it. Even though it messes with the bracket, right? It's fine, because I don't want a predictable event. I want it to be fun. I want it to be exciting. And that's, I think, what we want at the end of the day. Sure, we want to be right in our, tournament of champions in our bracket and get them all right, but that would make it too boring. Am I right? So, yeah. Great freaking comic book. A+. Absolutely loved it. Can't wait for the second issue of this. This is how you kick off an event, baby. So there you have it, webheads. Do you agree on my grades? Do you disagree? Let me know in the comment section below. Of course, let me know what you thought of DCKO. And as always, guys, I'll leave you more content right here. In fact, that's my latest comic book haul. Just letting you know all the stuff that I picked up for the current comic book week. As always, guys, support those local comic shops. Excuse me. Keep buying, keep collecting, but always remember, read your comics so we can have great comic conversation. Guys, thank you so much, and I'll see you on First Issue Fridays. Guys, take care. Bye.